Sam, so you are looking at also kind of how to monitor and sort of enhance and upskill workers while you are. Talk a little bit about what Huddle One does and how it kind of in that same field that Sheila was just talking about.
Sure. So, we're working pretty aggressively right now. As a business, our focus is making workforce training more accessible, more interactive, more engaging. We do that through mobile games. I kind of say that my life over the last 3 weeks have been comprised of sort of two types of phone calls right now with founders and CEOs and executives that use our platform. One is, there's a lot of executives out there who are sort of leaning in to what's happening. They're finding ways to move forward, even despite the difficult decisions they have to make. We do a lot of work with restaurants and hospitality brands. It's ugly. It's tough, and they're making tough decisions. And unfortunately, there's also a lot of businesses who are doing the opposite and are sort of leaning back and, I don't think doing everything that they can be doing for their people right now, because to second your point, the curve will flatten. People will come back to work. And, we try to emphasize to executives that when they show back up, they're going to remember how you treated them right now. And, now's the time to lead, and it's tough. There's no doubt about it. So I think the unfortunate thing, and there've been a lot of really great conversation over the last 2 hours, I think, accessibility has been a major problem in workforce training. The frontline worker gets access to a fraction of what the C-level worker gets access to. We've been advocating for 2 years on how we need to make workforce training not just more accessible, i.e. meet them where they are on mobile, but also access more skill development across job functions. Because today I might be a security guard, but tomorrow I might be a bartender. And then the next day I might be in charge of catering. I think there are companies that are really struggling with, the decision that they've made to only allow workforce training in the back room on a tablet or a learning platform that is not accessible, outside of an IP address. So I think that businesses that are going to succeed coming out of this are the ones that we're already set up well, and the ones that respond right now. Last thing I'll say, we talk a lot about skill training, and I love what Lucilla said about, there's a lot of great content we need to be focusing on. But I also think now is a time to focus on culture. And we're seeing a lot of brands we work with use our platform to do something so simple like keep their people together. We use mobile games, some of the most popular games on our platform, and we've seen a 7x surge in the last 2 weeks, have been games like on their staff, games on their culture, games on their mission. It's not training, but it's interesting. And I think there needs to be a balance of that, that type of material in addition to, job readiness and some of the other topics that are important as well.
And before I bring in Ash, let me just ask you a question. So you and Lucilla are, again, you're looking at workforce, you're looking at soft skills that students need to be prepared, a little bit of different things, but in the same genre. What does this say to parents? Like, what do we say to parents of younger people? What can the high school age kids be doing, right? What can middle school kids be doing right now to be thinking strategically about how they engage while they've got some time on their hands in a world that's going to be very different when we all come out of this?
Sure, I'll go first. We work with a program here in Newark, New Jersey called the All-Star Project. It's an after-school development program for youth age, 15 to 17. And they're struggling right now because businesses are not going to be taking on their summer internships for these students. And, I had a call yesterday with a few of their, instructors. And I said, right now we need to be leaning into the type of training around how, future of work was coming. It's just been accelerated. And my short comment would be, I think this levels the playing field for younger workers. There's a lot of workers out there and businesses that have no idea how to operate remote, and they're trying to figure it out, and their workers are trying to figure it out. And I said to one of the directors, you're 15, 16, and 17-year-old that have to argue about not having experience. Well, the experience line just flat. And I think there's major opportunity for young people to jump ahead right now while, everybody's trying to figure out how to operate remote in this moment. So like major opportunity.
This isn't the same. So how do we transition into that? How do we make sort of our mindset more global as a result of all this?
Sure. And one point, you talked a few minutes ago about government's role in sort of this transition. I think for a long time, certain labor rules that were very well intended restricted folks from access to job skills when they need it most. And I think we're seeing that today. I've talked to a few municipalities in the last few days who job readiness programs have stopped because a lot of the cities have job readiness programs that are highly reliant on live instruction. And the folks who would typically access that live instruction don't have access to a laptop or a desktop from home. And I think that there's so much that's occurred. One of the things we have to learn as we come out of this is that I think we're not entering a world. A lot of the folks on this call understand this from, the way we use technology. We need to make sure that access also includes allowing somebody, if they raise their hand and say they want to get better at something, to be able to do that, whether they're on the clock or off the clock. And, we fought for the last few years with companies who, I always joke, as a mobile workforce tool, and Ash knows this, we've had to build more features to stop participation because HR teams have said, we love it, but is there any way we can turn it off when they're not here? And, they're the ones we're talking to right now that are saying, hey, we want to turn that on. So, we have to learn from that. I think, globally, to your point, we have to, there's just so much opportunity to connect people today across borders with job skills, and it has to start with everybody on a call like this, like thinking about ways to, we're moving into a world where potentially we're going to see 30+% unemployment here in the US. There's more people that aren't responding to an HR person anymore than ever before. And there's a massive opportunity to work bottom up in our workforce to create the next what the requirements are for the job of tomorrow. And I just think that's where we should be thinking from a technology perspective. The workers have control right now, and it's our opportunity to enable and empower them.
And what does it mean? Is it reskill? Is it new skill? Is it just a new world that they're going to have to adapt to?
And I would probably say it's all of the above. We have to invest in technologies that move as fast as work moves. And I think that's the problem there's an infrastructure problem with a lot of business models. Again, just an observation, we've had at least 30 to 40% of our direct points of contact, which is generally the learning and development or HR job function in companies, be furloughed. So, our customer care team doesn't know who to talk to in some companies, but we still see participation happening and users using, and we're keeping platforms live to try to help people and worrying about everything else and billing later. But, this top-down model of only a few folks inside of the enterprise that can choose what content people have access to, its time has come. It's been long overdue, and I think this is an opportunity for us to learn and move forward.